Welcome to this interview. My name is Pippa and this is James Hesling. Say hello to the people at home. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you and what is it that you do, James?
My name's James Hesling and I'm a performance coach. What that means is I help expand people's potential and I help them unlock their own performance capacity so everybody can actually really move towards that North Star of theirs. If they have one, which everybody does, just depends if people recognise whether they actually have it, first and foremost, and actually if they can connect to what that actually is.
What is a North Star? Summarise that for me. You say everyone has one.
A North Star is a purpose, a calling, so to speak. So a lot of people in my experience and how I used to be myself, I certainly used to just live by what happened to me rather than what I designed specifically for me. And someone's North Star, whether it be professionally, whether it be physically, emotionally, financially, all different facets of health. And if I'm honest, a true North Star is the alignment of all of the different facets of health to truly make someone not just healthy but to reach their potential. And the North Star will also expand and evolve over time, but it's a real point of focus that someone can really drive towards and really just be that calling to achieve.
Can you share your North Star or not today?
Not today so much. Not today so
cliffhanger.
much. But there have been okay. There have been several actually. So if I really kind of like regress back to the early days of my life, which is I guess kind of like what we're going to be doing here, there was once upon a time where I was in a really low, dark place. I was depressed. I was, unfortunately suicidal. And my North Star at that time was, I just don't want to wake up and want to end it today. And my North Star was, how do I do that? My North Star was literally, I want to understand how to not want to end my life. And the beautiful thing is my past pain, which whether we go into or not, really became my purpose. And so once I'd achieved that North Star, and that North Star literally changed my life, it saved my life. But then the North Star extended to, I don't want to hate myself. And then the beautiful thing was I achieved that, and then the new North Star became, I want to like who I am. I want to be proud of who I am. Because up to that point in my life, I'd never been proud of myself. Maybe in the micro moments, but not actually in the broad terms of day-to-day quality of life. And then lo and behold, that happened, and then my North Star is I want to help people. I want to help people not just go through what I've been through, but fundamentally help people unlock how they can change their emotional state and how they can subsequently change their life as well. And then over the last 10, 15 years, that North Star has again just expanded and extended to now we've moved from England, we've now living in America, in the beautiful city of Las Vegas, and the goal is to really make an impact and change the world. So my North Star is about giving and helping people unlock their own emotions to be able to align towards what their potential can be.
So helping people in their performance, not letting their emotions dictate their situation, their health, their professionalism. Yeah,
totally. And the thing is as well, like, we are all emotional people. All of us, every single one of us. That's the beautiful thing about being alive, being a human.
It's what makes us human, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's what makes us human. Now the difference is we are all going to have emotions, whether we like it or not. But the skill is being able to control not just about the emotion that we experience and the emotional state that we can actually connect to and create, but then also about how we can align that to better, to more of something. And the better and the more is about healthier, happier, giving more, unlocking one's potential. Because if we can do that and we can control our emotional responses, because the problem is so many people are controlled by their emotions. And I hope you don't mind me swearing a little bit, but it's very much I feel a certain way, I act a certain way. And what I used to be, and what I've experienced hundreds of people experienced before, is I feel stressed, I'll act in a stressful way.
Yeah.
I feel shitty, so I'll act in a shitty way. Where actually, if we can appreciate the emotion, we can also start to then control and change the emotion for better performance.
What would you say to someone who would argue that and say, but your emotions are there to be felt, you shouldn't try and change them or control them?
Totally. And I'm not trying to like say we suppress things and we sweep it under the rug. Trust me, I used to do that myself more than anybody, and the rug got so big it almost became like a mountaintop. But the key thing is that it's about understanding your emotion, by understanding you, what your triggers are. Because then if we can understand not only our triggers and how we feel in a moment, we can then understand how we can utilize that. Because how you see a situation changes the situation, and I'm a huge lover of that quote. But if you've got fear, or if you've got anxiety, if you've got sadness, we've got these associative negative emotions. If we can understand how to use them in a way that becomes helpful, in a way that becomes a real spearhead towards progress, then truly so much is possible, and you become unstoppable.
I love that. I think as well, your emotions are there to guide you, and I think it's about using them and harnessing them in the right way for you in a given situation to help you move forward, whereas a lot of people do use them as a way to stay still, or if you're staying still, you're kind of retreating or falling back, would you say?
Totally, 100%. And the key thing is we've got all these emotions flying around in our mind, in our nervous system, and the body and the mind are so connected. And if we're going to feel something emotionally, we're going to feel something physically. And so the goal, what we aim to achieve and what we do achieve, is we just get all these emotions going in the same direction. Because then you've got true alignment of not just clarity, but also execution, rather than it almost feel like a disconnect where you're trying to fight with yourself, trying to fight with your emotions, rather than understanding how we can utilize them towards output and efficiency.
They're going to happen, aren't they? So using them as more of an intuition.
100%.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, and you touched on your backstory a little bit earlier. But is that the reason why you became who you are today and the coach you are today, coaching in what you coach today, or is there anything else? What path led you here, I guess?
Yeah, totally. I would say the reason why Hesling $1 Million Mind has really evolved from my coaching, I mean, gosh, if I think way back when I was 17 and I was personal training, but I was personal training with an eating disorder and some real mental health and some real self-worth and confidence issues. Like, I was faking it until I was trying to make it fundamentally. And what really started to unnerve me was the fact that not only was I moving forward, even though I looked fantastic, by definition, and even though my clients were beginning to look fantastic, it was all around forcing outcomes. And that's what happened, to me. I was trying to force outcomes. I was trying to be who everybody else wanted me to be. I didn't truly know my identity. And obviously, I touched on already that it led me to a slightly, very dark place. But that evolution, whether it was through personal training from an early age, whether it was through, having a short stint with the military, whether it was through building and running gyms, the evolution has grown the more I've grown. And this is what's really kind of pulled it together, is actually the most exciting thing that I can do for myself is continue to develop myself. Because the more I develop, the better my life becomes, the more my quality of life becomes apparent. Not just professionally, not just in my relationships, but especially in terms of what I see my future is able to unlock. And that for me is incredibly exciting, because actually the process, the journey itself becomes the most rewarding thing. Now, this doesn't mean I don't love achievement. I absolutely love achievement. I'm incredibly 100%. I'm incredibly competitive. But the biggest competition we're ever going to face is ourselves.
Yeah.
So if I can play by my own standards, if I can create my own rules for what success looks like, then actually there's nothing stopping me, and there's nothing stopping you or anybody else that can really unlock this together.
So it's that kind of innate sense of, I like that journey is the reward quote you just said as well. I think, did you come up with that? You did come up with that.
I don't know. It's something that I've used for a long time.
A long,
because,
long-term quote of yours.
For about a decade now. And the reason why is because, and I've worked with people, whether it's been through, real fat loss transformations, whether someone's lost over 100 pounds, in just a year. But the problem can be is whether it's 10 pounds or 100 pounds, if the end goal equals happiness, well, there's no way in this world that it's going to end up happiness, because we get there and we lose this identity of what we're doing it for. And we get there and it's kind of like the postcard picture of the mountaintop, and it's, what do I do now? Because I still realise I feel the same. And so actually happiness is an inside job.
Sure.
So what we want to do is we want to utilise the change and the influence and the guidance of our own emotions. We want to really connect that to where it is that we're heading, because otherwise we end up like a ship without a rudder.
Yeah.
And what happens then after there is we feel lost along the way. And anything that's worth doing is worth doing well. But the problem is that anything that's worth doing well tends to be very, very difficult, very, very challenging. So if we don't actually enjoy the road of personal growth, of unlocking, a higher standard of execution, not just for the short term, but for the long term, unless we can really connect to this, we're never going to stay the course. Because the beautiful thing is, and I want you to imagine a big, long, open road, that like a highway that just goes on forever. All of the goals that we're trying to accomplish are just milestones along the way, but the road is the journey itself, and whatever comes to us, that's all part of it. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't try and excel. In fact, it's the contrary. It's about excelling in who you are and having your sights focused on the target, and then the next target, and then the next target. But
and
it's
that
not
North Star as well.
100% that North Star.
Overarching North Star, I guess.
Without a doubt. But the overarching North Star is who you become along the way. And then we just align that to whatever is pertinent to somebody to achieve, whether that is success, whether that is financial health, whether that is physical performance, whatever it might be.
So you tie it all in.
100%, absolutely, yeah. Because it's not for me to tell you or tell anybody else what you should do, what makes you happy. There is, without a doubt, underneath the answer already there.
Interesting. Okay, so if, let's imagine like a new client just walked in and they were just like, hey, I'm relatively successful and I've got a family I love and everything's kind of good, but I know I don't feel like 100% like I'm stressed. I feel like I'm on the verge of, dare I say it, like a breakdown or like burnout. Like, what would you, if someone walked into this room right now and was like, hey, tell me more, help me with this, what would you say?
Really good question, and I think the key thing is understanding what someone's been, come to me for. Because if someone just goes, "Hey James, make me better," like, why?
Yeah.
Because if we don't have a big enough why, now this why can be, however broad as it's long. My why initially was, I want to wake up tomorrow and be happy to wake up for tomorrow. Whereas now my why is, I just want to see what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
So as long as we have a starting point, and this is the most important thing. So whenever I work with anybody, we've got to understand where they're at right now.
Yeah. And they've said good family, quite good job.
Good family,
pretty
good job.
successful.
But what we want to think about is, is good enough? What if we want a phenomenal relationship? What if we want a phenomenal career? What if I want to feel not just good, because is good enough? What if we want to actually unlock even more potential and go, I just want to feel so aligned, so strong, emotionally, physically, spiritually, so I can really drive forward. So it doesn't necessarily need to be someone that is coming from, you know, where I've come from previously in terms of the depths of despair. It can just be someone who wants to create more out of their life. But what we do want to have is an anchor moment for what that can look like. Now, people don't necessarily need to come in and go, well, it's because of this, because that's our job together to really unlock that and shape and define it. But it needs to be powerful and it needs to be strong enough. Otherwise, when it comes to the times where, I could just not do today, then it's going to be harder to overcome those internal battles, because the biggest battleground that we'll ever face is the one inside our own mind. And if we can understand how we can utilize those conversations inside our own head, then again, that North Star and understanding our why becomes very powerful. So if someone's come in here in the first time and the first thing they say is like, hey James, help me, I'm like, great, sit down, let's break this open and let's see what your potential could actually be. Because there's two different kind of push-pull motivators. We've got to be drawn towards something like the accolade of an achievement, or the accolade of how I want to feel in myself. I want to know I'm successful, and success looks like this, not just myself but externally as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't always have to come from internal drivers. You know, if someone wants to have a really big house, or if someone wants to have the best car on the driveway, perfect, I'm all for that. But also as well, there are real connectors inside where how you don't want to feel. Whether that is, I don't want to feel like I'm losing out on opportunity. Like that in itself can be a huge driver. And this is how we want to be able to unlock that ultimate performance, is being able to tap into both the pull and the push motivators in order to drive us forward. Because often what happens is our tolerance levels begin to drop. And so when our tolerance levels drop, and what I mean by that is what you stand for, what you accept, whether it's through self-respect, keeping your own promises. So a lot of people struggle with confidence. And I say, cool, great. So if you're struggling with confidence, first of all, what aren't you confident in? And someone might be saying, oh, James, I'm not confident in public speaking. I'm like, okay, great. Well, let's look at what other things that you might be confident in. Are you confident in tying your shoes? Well, yeah, absolutely, I'm confident in tying my shoes. Great. So it's not that you're not confident, we just need to align the breakdown of how we make you confident in public speaking. So then we can understand why you're not confident in public speaking, and it might be, cool, how many times have you said you're going to stand in front of the mirror and introduce yourself, or whatever capacity it might be? It might be, a dozen times. And how's it gone? Well, I start it, but I don't really commit, so then I stop and I think I'm silly. So then if we don't follow through on an action that is related to where we want to go, then it's no wonder we're not confident, because we're breaking the promises that we're keeping to ourselves in that moment. We're not following through on the hard things. But if we can align that enough to where someone wants to go, then confidence, or whether it's just execution, or whether it's just, success in whatever magnitude matters to somebody, we can make that happen.
Interesting, because the key thing in my mind then when I was introducing this hypothetical person to you was, so stress and burnout is the problem, but you've actually not really talked about stress and burnout. You've talked about how to find what it is they actually truly desire and how they actually truly want to feel, and why they're feeling currently how they're feeling. Like, it feels like you've gone deeper than just going, oh yeah, burnout and stress is a terrible thing.
Yeah, 100%. No, yeah, absolutely. And for me, stress and burnout is when there's just a misalignment of states.
Yeah.
And what I mean by state is how we're feeling, the emotional state, because we have such power and control over our own state. And truth be told, I still work on this myself. because it's something that we're always going to have to
Well, our
utilise.
state's always changing, isn't it? So of course you're going to have to always work on it, you know what I mean?
100%. And the key thing is what used to take me months to be able to really change my state, and then my bounce back reduced to weeks, and my bounce back returned to days, and then now I really try and pride myself on changing my emotional state in slightly more than a moment. And the way that I can do that is through repetition. It's by understanding the tools and then being able to reinforce that. But burnout or stress, these are two very usable emotions. But the thing is, most of the time, burnout and stress stem from how we perceive the situation. And usually that situation becomes a little bit mismatched and skewed because we're losing the identity of what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. Because if I feel like I have to do this, it's a real disconnect.
Yeah.
But if I get to do something, if I'm inspired to do something, then that's how we can actually avoid burnout. You know, I work lots. I love working. But if I felt like I had to work, it'd be very, very difficult to sustain that. And whether it's through, let's say, for example, Ben that I work with. So Ben, a gentleman that I work with, he's lost over 100 pounds. He's had 3 promotions. He's more than doubled his salary since we've been working together. Now, has that come from just being, great, I know what I'm doing now, it's easy? No, it's hard work, because it is hard work. But what we've done is we've developed the systems, we've developed the behaviours in order to really hone in on what he wanted for his life. And subsequently, we've now been able to sustain that performance. And as we sustain the performance, you'd be amazed at what can compound in terms of ability. And then because we're compounding ability and we're compounding results, then what happens next is, and this brings it back to the point that you said in terms of we're always experiencing new states, it's that old saying of new levels, new devils. And at each new level, the biggest devil and the only devil that we're truly going to face is ourself. So once we start to unlock and really break from ourselves, we get out of our own way, again, we can keep exploring those levels. And the beautiful thing is, who knows how many levels there are for us all.
That's part of the fun, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That road keeps on going.
Absolutely. And there'll be bumps along the way, but there are never going to be walls. You know, so we understand whether we go around them, over them, whatever way we need to. But the thing that we want to instill and really reinforce is that the answers are always inside you. So we become the kind of person, we instill the identity that problem, I anticipated and I had the solution. And we're playing chess now, but we become the grandmaster of the game. But the game is understanding ourselves, so we can overcome our bottlenecks, and then we can continuously move forward and feel incredible joy and fulfillment along the way, which then reduces stress and burnout. But also, when we do have those moments, we know how to overcome them.
Yeah, it's adaptability, isn't it?
100%.
We're always constantly having to adapt. So
100%. It's recognizing that progress in health isn't binary.
Sure.
You know, it's multifaceted, and I kind of call it nutritional intelligence, but I guess it's kind of like self-regulated emotional intelligence too, where you can look at what's in front of you, whether that is through a task, whether that's through an environmental situation, whether that is through how you're feeling in yourself, and it's been able to go, let's bring this back to where I am right now, given the context of what's happening. How do I still move forward? Because what looks like progress today might be different to progress tomorrow. Because the circumstances may be totally different. But rather than it being a pass-fail, instead it's understanding how we can always make a win happen. It's being able to find a way to win. Externally and especially internally.
Okay. And so with your brand of $1 Million Mind, this is all encompassed under that program? Is it a program, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. So the $1 Million Mind is something that I've really created because ever since I was little, and so many people that I work with and have worked with and just know is that, I just want to be a millionaire. But actually, I've also worked with people who have been incredibly successful, but actually they've been unhappy. So they've been miserable, or they've been addicted to things. Now, the reality is, so just having money doesn't make you intrinsically happy. It certainly solves a lot more problems than if you don't have money, but it doesn't equal happiness or quality of life, internally especially. So $1 million mind is actually connecting all different components of health and all different components in life, because being successful feels good. But the definition of success to somebody is totally different to somebody else. So what we need to do is understand what the definition of success looks like from an external standpoint, but also define what the definition of success is internally as well. And for me, that's a true $1 million mind. It's been calm, it's been confident, it's been happy, it's been passionate. Because if we've got passion and we've got that calling and we've got that purpose, then actually for me, that is real wealth.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily about just the financial accolade of being a millionaire. It is about the internal depths, working on the internal.
Totally. And what often happens, more often than not, the financial gains come alongside it. I'm working with multiple people right now, and one particular individual, the goal this year is to go from 60 million to over 100 million this year. And actually, we're not doing it by trying to do more. We're doing it by focusing on less. We're just operating at a higher level of skill and a higher level of decision making while she spends more time at home with the family. I'm working with someone who's in a startup this year, and the initial projections were approximately 60 million. We're now looking at 125 million because he's leading himself to a much higher standard, and subsequently he's now leading his team to a much higher standard. So, monetary terms and whatever external methods of identifying success will naturally come with you along the way by defaulting who you are, if that's what you're connected to.
Okay, and so you're coaching generally, and also Millionaire Mind then. What's it called, sorry?
Hesling, $1 million Mind.
$1 million Mind. We're from England, so I forgot the dollar part. Who is it for then? Like, who's the ideal person for this program, and who also isn't the right person to kind of work with you on this?
Yeah, great question. My coaching isn't for everybody, and what I would do is, if I start with who it's not for, that by default kind of like pinpoints and shoehorns as to who it is for. Who it's not for is people who aren't coachable, first and foremost, who think they always have all the answers. The more I learn, the more I grow, the more I realise I know nothing. But it's not for people who have a closed mindset in terms of what's possible. It's someone who tells themselves the story that, it's because of this why I can't do that. Because they're exactly right. They are totally right. If they tell themselves the story that they can't achieve something, or that they've had it harder than everybody else, they're correct. But if somebody who has been through the exact same circumstance says to themselves, it's because of this why I'm going to be so much better, why I'm going to be able to give back more to the community, to my family, to myself, those are the people that I work with. The people that are fed up of feeling a certain way, but aren't just fed up and just talking about it. Because I'm a huge believer that if people talk about problems repeatedly, they're not looking for answers, they're looking for attention. And I want to work with people who are looking for answers and who are ready to take action. Because for me, speed of implementation is everything. What we're going to do is we're going to break everything open. We're not going to go past into deep traumas and try and understand why things happened. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what you've got. We're going to look at the cards that you've been dealt with, and we're going to use them. We're going to put them on the table. We're going to go, great, we've got this 2, we've got this 7. How do we make this 2 and the 7 the best hand possible? Because even if traditionally it's the worst hand that you can have, cool, let's make that your advantage.
Yeah.
And I work with people who want to use what they've got, but along the way build on top of all these skills.
Wicked. Okay, great. And if there was someone who was watching this now and they were like, I know I'm capable of more, I'm fed up feeling this way, have you got anything practical or anything you think you could say now that someone could just walk away from this, having watched this, thinking, okay, I can implement that, I can use that, or I can take that forward?
Good question. Do you know, we could go on for about a week.
Probably.
The first thing I would honestly try and do is pinpoint why you're not feeling an alignment with who you think or who you want to be. As in, like, who you think you want to be or who you truly passionately want to be. And the answers are going to be there.
They always are.
Your subconscious is going to be there. The person who wants to tell you the truth more than anybody is the person looking back at you in the mirror. But what we become so good at is justifying. And there is nobody better at negotiating what we want than ourselves. I just want to watch that next episode, but do you know, I've got an early start. Yeah, but actually, I deserve that extra episode. Or even if it's something like, we become so incredibly resourceful, and if somebody, let's say, wants to buy a new pair of Jordans or they want to get some AirPods, everybody can typically, or to a certain degree, can find the resources to be able to get it because they want it so bad. But let's say, for example, if somebody wants to better themselves, people can be held up. Yeah, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe people can't, but the point is that we can be resourceful enough, not necessarily in the moment, but over time, to be able to take action. Now, this doesn't mean that somebody has to work with a coach, whether it's somebody else or even myself, but it does mean that we actually have more resources available to us to make the appropriate changes. We live with YouTube, we live with the internet, we live with AI. There are so many phenomenal tools out there that can get us started along the way. I mean, if I had, when I was growing up, the resources that we had right now, it'd be incredible. But the problem is, what often people do is they get stuck by trying to either one, focus and do too much, or two, they just shy away because they get so overwhelmed by how much there is. So the simplest thing, if someone wants to move forward, isn't by trying to do more. It's about stripping everything away and focusing on one thing. And that one thing, so for me, like I said, my North Star evolved. It became where I wanted to actually be okay with being alive, to actually not wanting to hate myself, to wanting to feel proud of myself, to wanting to give back, and it's extended as time's gone on. So what we want to do, and what I would say to anybody to do, is strip it right back to where you are and think, okay, what emotion would I like to experience? Well, if I want to feel like I've been successful today, cool. What would make you think that you've had a successful day? Well, I'd feel good if I went out for a walk, or I'd feel good if I made that extra call today, or I'd feel good if I went to the gym and did a workout, or I'd feel good if I actually hit my water today. Great, that's success today. Because again, if we strip it back to where you are right now, that gives us opportunity to grow, reflect, learn, and then build upon. So that's what I would do.
Helpful, amazing. Have you got anything else you would like to add before we wrap this up?
No, just very grateful to do this video today, and I look forward to meeting lots of you along the way.